It's the cornerstone of American society and democracy. I mean, when you talk about concepts like freedom, democracy, those would not be possible.
The First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. You know, the framers clearly thought that it was essential to a free and fair society.
What is so critical about the First Amendment is that it really is a way for the people to make sure that the government is limited in its power and in its abilities. And that comes in all forms. So the First Amendment makes sure that the government cannot interfere with someone's right to assemble, peacefully assemble, or associate with other groups. And it can't limit freedom of expression in any way, whether it's religion or speech or the press.
The press is the only industry named by name within the U.S. Constitution. There is no other industry named by name, if you think about it. So when you talk about freedom of the press, our forefathers thought that it was so essential, and in fact, if you go back to their writings, they believed that above everything else, if you do not have that, you cannot have the democracy, which is what fundamentally makes up our country, and what differentiates us from just about every other country in the world.
The press is the way that the citizenry are informed. It's how they collect the information to make their decisions. And so, you know, it's clear from just the way the Constitution is structured that the First Amendment is really a crucial tenet of democracy. A free society can't function without a free press.
And if you look throughout the course of history, countries where the citizenship has lost their rights and their freedoms, the first attack is always on the press. In Cuba, in Venezuela, in Turkey now, in Russia. I mean, because if you can control the press, which is challenging what the government is doing, you can control what the citizens think. And before you know it, you wake up and every single day they strip away one little right, one little right, one little right, and you wake up one day and you're no longer free.
Again, I think one of the defining characteristics of a democracy is that you are guaranteed certain liberties. And one of those liberties is the right to practice your religion as you see fit. There are certain limits to that, but the government is not allowed to ban your belief or ban your worship.
The freedom of religion is a value we will continue to protect here at home and stand up for around the world, and is one that we guard vigilantly here in the United States.
The First Amendment is absolutely critical in securing democracy. It is really what holds our values together as a democracy. If we can't express ourselves freely without fear of government intrusion or government limitations, then we we've been denied one of the greatest, I think, human rights.
In the right of every American, free, robust, sometimes contentious exchanges of ideas. As you exercise these rights, realize how precious, how rare, and how fragile they are.
One thing to understand about constitutional protections is that no protection is absolute.
Going back to the importance of freedom of speech and journalism for the sake of democracy and how it is a cornerstone of democracy, you know, you're not going to have a healthy democracy if people are misinformed. You know, there's not being informed, and then there's being misinformed. I don't know which one's worse.
Certainly as a citizen, it's important to know your rights, and as someone who's active, if you're speaking or protesting or petitioning, it is important to know what you are and are not allowed to do.
But there is something, sort of a First Amendment spirit, which we take account of, and which matters a lot. When football players want to kneel, they are in the tradition of people exercising First Amendment rights. They're exercising a right to protest. They're engaging in a sort of speech, and it's the sort of speech, even though it's not words, it's the sort of expression which is also at the core of First Amendment-like protection.
It's how important it is to be an educated citizen. Because, again, if you're not and you don't understand these basic fundamentals of what makes up our country, we will lose our country. And I'm already an immigrant. We lost Cuba. And we lost Cuba, by some of the same challenges that we're seeing sometimes today, here.
The First Amendment is not about opinions you agree with. It's not about opinions that are right and reasonable. The First Amendment is about opinions that you passionately disagree with and the right of others to express them.
Well, if we didn't have these rights, we wouldn't be the United States of America, because one of the hallmarks of this country is that we do have certain liberties. I think it's important to remember that the First Amendment protections are for everybody in the country. So free speech, free religion, exercise like religious liberty. Religious liberty doesn't just protect some religions, it protects all religions. Freedom of speech doesn't just protect some points of view and some people. It is there to protect everybody. And so I would like to emphasize that these rights are for everyone.
In one word, I would describe the First Amendment as indispensable.
Freedom.
Foundational.
It's vital.
Democracy.
Light. I mean, when I think of free speech, I think of light. It's what we use to be able to see and to move forward. Light.